Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi, Maseches CHULLIN Daf Pei Gimel. We begin at the Mishnah, which is at the third wide line. So back to Oisoi Ves Benoi, which is the mitzvah to allow for a time lapse, a day difference between doing shechita on the mother animal and the offspring animal. Now, typically, when a person purchases an animal off the market, he need not be concerned, and the seller doesn't really have to inform him that, in fact, you're buying the mother. Well, actually, the baby was sold earlier today because perhaps it wasn't meant for immediate consumption, so we need not be concerned. However, says the Mishnah, there are 4 exceptions to this rule. So 4 days during the year, which are days of exceptional celebration, intended for preparing of su'udos, of feasts, in honor of the Yom Tov. During those days, then we know that when a person purchases an animal off the market, it's intended for immediate slaughter, immediate consumption. And therefore, if he sells an animal to a customer whose mother had already been sold earlier today, he has to inform the customer, look, you should know I'm selling you the baby of the mother animal which I had already sold earlier today for shechita. So be careful, you have to wait until tomorrow. Or bita macharti lishchait. If he sells the mother animal today, he has to tell him, look, I already sold the daughter earlier today. Because during these days, Rashi says, stam alekech behema. In these cases, usually stam alekech behema, ein alekech. During these days, stam alekech behema, ein alekech ella l'sheichta miyad. The assumption is when you purchase an animal during one of these times, it's for immediate consumption. So he has to let him know. What are these 4 days? Velu hein, erev Yom Tov ha'achron shel Chag, erev of the second day of Sukkot. Rashi says, why the second day? They were marbin b'simcha, because it was a regular b'fnei atzmai, a separate Yom Tov. To highlight the fact that it's a separate, independent Yom Tov, they would celebrate more than usual. Taisus actually asks the guy, he says, why don't we mention the first day? Erev of the first day of Yom Tov. He says, because they were busy. They didn't have enough time to prepare these great lavish meals. They were busy building the sukkah, buying the lulav. That's why it's specific to the Erev of the second Yom Tov of Sukkot, where it's coming after a whole long Chalamoid, so plenty of time. Erev Yom Tov Achron Shel Chag, Erev Yom Tov Rishon Shel Pesach, Erev of first day of Pesach, Erev Atzeres, Erev of Shavuos, Erev Rosh Hashanah. These are days of celebration and preparing of su'udos. And one more, Ukedivrei. Rabbi Yossi Aglili, according to his opinion, we add one more to the list. Af Erev Yom Kippurim in Galil. They had great celebrations on Erev Yom Kippur. Erev Yom Kippur, a time of about to experience atonement of sins. Right? You know there's a mitzvah say, right? The Torah says if you eat on the 9th day, it's as though you fasted. So it was a time of excessive celebration, a time of simcha, a time of su'udah. Now, what is the reason for the mitzvah? Some say to prepare physically, so to garner strength, amass, reserves for the fasting of tomorrow. According to Rabbi Yoina Shari as a chiddush, she says it's a time of celebration because it's the su'udah was celebrating the atonement of sins. Though we can't do it tomorrow, we do it today on Erev Yom Kippur. Okay, so in all these situations, you sell the animal, you have to inform the customer of the context. Amrav Yehudei Masai, it's only a concern when there's no time allowance. So he sold the aim today and he sold the bas today, he has to tell him. If there's a time allowance, there's a time gap. He sold the mother animal only yesterday, and today he's selling the offspring. There's no need to inform him because rest assured he probably shechted it yesterday. Today's a new day. However, if there's reason to believe, strong reason to believe that in fact, these two animals are being purchase for the same wedding, for the same celebration, and you know, even though you sold one yesterday and one today, they're going to be slaughtered on the same day, in preparation for that single feast. In that case, you have to inform him again. Reader agrees. And suppose he sold the mother animal, the cow, to the chassan's family yesterday, and today, he's selling the calf to the kala's family. Now, why did the Mishnah specify the bigger animal for the chassan and the small animal for the kala? More we'll talk about this. Since they're both intended for the same wedding, for the same night, you have to inform them. So you have to tell the second fellow, look, you should know you're number 2. Well, biyadua, because it's known, both customers are going to do shchita on the same day. So that's the first halacha regarding these 4 special days. Here comes a corresponding halacha. Since during those days the community had a great need for basar in order to prepare their celebrations, here comes another halacha that was established by the Chachamim. During these 4 times, typically a butcher, it's his discretion. He decides he wants to. He has enough customers to shecht his cow. Go ahead. Otherwise, no cow today. But during these days, the Chachamim established a system which compels the butcher. You have to do shchita. We force the butcher to do shchita against his will, even though he only has one customer for a huge cow. Look, his shur is worth 1,000 dinar. He has one little buyer for $2 worth of meat. Along comes along a customer, buys $1 worth of meat. We force him to do shchita in order to make the basar available for the community. Interesting chiddush. Now, the outcome of this chiddush is, therefore, since it's for the buyer's benefit, right? Due to his need during that day, and right, it's for his benefit. If something goes awry with the animal, dies during the shechita, whatever, meis lilakech, who will swallow the loss? The buyer. See, typically, it's the butcher's gain and benefit, right? It's up to him if he wants to do a shechita. If it's to his profit, he'll do it. Otherwise, he won't. So it's under his, achrayis. It's his responsibility. It's his gain or loss. But in this case, since the lekeach is being granted this extra privilege and the ability to force the butcher. So if anything goes wrong, the buyer has to absorb it. Aval b'shari meis hashana, but throughout the rest of the year, the halacha doesn't apply in this way. Meaning, the butcher, it's up to him, right? He wants to do shechita, he goes ahead. Otherwise, he refrains, and therefore, it's to his gain and to his benefit, and to his loss. So in this case, if something goes wrong with the animal, if it dies, the meicher will absorb the loss. Tana. Okay, so we go back to the beginning of the Mishnah. During these 4 special days, we inform the customers as to what's going on. Let's say he buys an animal and the owner doesn't say anything. Tana, we have a brayse. If you didn't inform him, then not to worry. He goes and does shechita without concerns, because the owner would have told him. He didn't tell him, so you can assume that he's okay. Amar bidei masai. But if they're both being sold for the same celebration, for the same event, even if they were sold in separate days, you have to double check. So why did the Mishnah make that reference regarding the cow to the chassan and the calf to the kala? You're right, it doesn't really relate to Oisav es Benoi. It's just sort of a side point. Milsa agav urche. There's a point here being informed to us. By the way, Kamash Malon, the Mishnah is telling us, the Eirach Ara, it is customary, it is the way of the land, Limitra, who makes a greater celebration, who contributes more to the wedding expense, Limitrach, Bechasna, the family of the Chasna, invests more They buy the cow, more than the Kalas family, who contribute only the calf. That was the custom during those days. So the Chassan's family would contribute the lion's share of the celebration. Okay, at the end of the Mishnah we have the next halacha, which sort of is an outcome of the first halacha. Since he's being forced to do shchita, the lekeach is sort of the one responsible. Something goes wrong, it's his loss. What do you mean it's his loss? True, he paid for the $2 worth of meat, but he never did meshicha. The halacha is that, although according to some shitas minat Torah, when you pay for it, it's yours, but midrabanan, right? We all agree midrabanan, you have to do meshicha, you have to physically take possession. He didn't do that. It's a live animal walking around the barn. So why is it the customer's loss? Why is it his responsibility? It's not even his yet. Amar Rav Huna, Amar Rav Kisha Mashach was speaking that he did do meshicha on the live animal for his $2 worth of meat that he's going to get from it. So it's his. And therefore, if there's any loss, it's his. If that's the case, Amos Seifa. If he did a full-fledged acquisition, so let's understand the next, the ending of the Mishnah. And it came, but throughout the year, this then does not apply. The customer is not liable. Why? If it dies, the butcher is the one that suffers a loss. Why? If the lekech already did a full kinyan, it's his. Amar Rav Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak. You're right. Certainly there was no act of meshicha, there was no act of acquisition directly. We're speaking that the seller was mezaka to the customers through a third party. So Reuben is the seller, Levi is the customer. Shimon walks into the store, and Reuben says, "Oh, could you do me a favor? Could you do a kinyan on this animal on behalf of my customer?" And now it becomes his. And now he's responsible. So once again, we're back to the question: if there was a kinyan, then it should apply throughout the year, irrespective of the date. The answer is like this: you can only do this process if, in fact, it is a confirmed taiva, if it's a benefit, a schus for the lekeach. I can't just give you stuff that's bad for you, right? It has to be to your benefit. So that depends on the time of the year. During these 4 days, it is a great benefit to Levi, because he's desperate for the meat for a celebration. He's very much pleased to have it early in the game so that the butcher doesn't turn around and sell it to somebody else. And also this way he can compel the butcher to do the shechita. So all in all, it's a schus for him. And therefore we apply the rule of zachan adam. You can grant a benefit to a recipient even without him knowing. Even without him realizing, without him knowing, he's not around. So in this case, it's Erev Yom Kippur. The butcher did a zikui through a third party to the on behalf of the customer. It's his. If something goes wrong, the customer suffers the loss. As opposed to the rest of the year, nobody likes spending money, so technically, a purchase is not a schus. When he's not so desperate for meat, the chayv is considered a chayv. To his detriment, Rashi says, what's the chayv? I mean, after all, he's getting meat, he wants the meat. Nobody likes spending money. Until you have to spend it, you don't want to spend it. You're going to hold on to the money. It's considered a loss, relatively, right? So the butcher has no business granting it to him without his knowledge. You can't do a chayiv on behalf of a person without his consent. So even though he did this act of acquisition on behalf, it's not valid. Technically, it still belongs to the seller, belongs to the butcher. And if any loss is experienced, it's on the butcher's account. That's one explanation in the Mishnah. So again, was there a kinyan done? Yes, but not directly. It was through a third party. During the 4 days where meat is of great necessity, it's called a schus. So it's the lekeachs, as opposed to the rest of the year. Rabbi Lazar or Rabbi Yechanan, he says, you know what? There was no physical kinyan, other than the lekeach investing, $2, making that payment. Now, typically, payment is not sufficient to render it yours. Well, he says like this: Minat Torah it is. It's just that midrabanan they require that physical possession. What's the point of requiring mashicha? We discussed this back in Mitzvah because it's to the benefit of the lekeach. You know why? Imagine the grain dealer makes $1 million deal. Okay, Shimon, you want to buy my grain? Yeah, here's $1 million. He pays them all. And the grain is still sitting in the dealer's warehouse, in Reuben's warehouse, out in the Hicks. Reuben, in the middle of the night, sees smoke coming out of the warehouse. He says, I'm not going to risk my life to save the grain which already belongs to Shimon. I mean, my life comes first. And Shimon's grain will just burn to the ground. In order to prevent that, in order to give Reuben an incentive to go out, all out, make a great effort to protect and salvage the items, the Chum say like this: despite the fact that Shimon already paid for it, it's not really truly his, not completely his. He can just change his mind. As soon as he hears that the stuff burned down, he'll say, "This deal, no deal. It's over." So now Reuben will have added incentive to actually protect the property and save it. So that's a general directive, a general system regarding your standard, conventional, transaction. But this is an exception. Here goes. During these 4 days, where meat is of premium, and we want the lekech to be considered a partial owner, because this way he can compel the butcher to do the shechita. Hamidu chachamim devreihem al din Torah. The chachamim reverted and aligned their approach, reverted to the way the Torah said it, meaning that monetary payment is sufficient to render a kinyan. The Amar b'yechan var Torah min ha-Torah mois koines. Simply by paying something, it's yours. Why did they require Mashiach on top of that? There's a concern so that the seller shouldn't turn to the buyer and say, "Hey, your stuff burnt down. Sorry, your wheat burnt down, and upstairs, and So typically, Mashiach is required to complete the transaction, but over here, we suffice with the payment alone. That explains the Mishnah. Once he pays for it, it's technically his. He's a part owner. He can force the butcher to do shechita now. And if there's any loss, he loses those $2. Continues the Mishnah. So we know that Oisev as B'nai cannot be shechted on the same day. Now, what constitutes the same day? Is it Me'es La'es, a 24-hour period, or is it a night-day unit? So if you do shechita, today, right before sunset, you can do the shechita right after sunset on the offspring, because it's technically a different day. So how do you count days? Yom Echad. The term Yom Echad, which is mentioned in the pasuk Oisev as B'nai, right? Lo'is shechata b'Yom Echad. Ha'amr, which is stated ba'oisev es b'nai, that's a standard night followed by day unit. Hayoim hilach achar laila, the day follows the night. Azudar Shimon Zayma, it's based on the following drasha. Nemar Mas Bereshis, we find back on the 6 days of creation. Yom Echad. Vayera vayvoki Yom Echad, right? V'nemar, and it says over here as well, ba'oisev es b'nai. It says Yom Echad. We compare. Mayayim Echad, the Amar Mas Bereshis, just like over there by Bereshis, it's a unit. Hayoim Hoylach Achar Laila, the day which follows the night. It's one single unit. Af Yom Echad, the Amar Bereshis. Likewise, the term Yom Echad over here is referring to Hayoim Hoylach Achar Laila, a night followed by a day. Tanu Rabbanan. Now, why would I think otherwise? Ezu Dorash Shimon Zayma. So Shimon Zayma presented as follows. Truthfully, if you look at the context, the pasuk of Oisev es B'nai is stated amongst psukim that speak about korbanos. Now, by korbanos, we know there's an exception. Of Bukachim, typically, it's night, day, right? Regarding halachas in the Torah, Yom Tov, Shabbos, it's always night followed by day. That's the unit. But by korbanos, it's just the opposite. You shech the korban today, you can continue doing that korban into the following night. You can eat the basar until the following night. It's a reversed order. It's the night which follows the day. So perhaps Oisev es B'nai, since it's stated, within the kachim discussion in the Torah, Yochel Afseh came perhaps here as well. It's day followed by night. And that's why we need that hekish. Nemar Khan, it says over here Yom Echad. Nemar Mas Bereshis says over there Yom Echad. Just like over there, my Yom Echad, over there, Mas Bereshis, it's Vayera Vayvoike, right? Hayoim Chacha Laila, day follows the night. Afkan, Af Yom Echad, Amar Oisev es B'nai here as well. It follows the same identical system. Hayoim Chacha Laila. We turn to my base. Rabbi Eimer, I'll give you a different shot in the term Yom Echad. the Torah is hinting that the halacha that we had in the Mishnah, there are special, unique days that are different than the rest, where an animal purchased on those days is presumed to be intended for immediate consumption due to the fact that it's a great day of celebration. Yom Echad means it's a special day. Yom Echad, a unique day. Yom HaMiyuchad. Ton Cruz. We have to announce. We have to notify the buyers. Mikan Omer, based on this phraseology in the pasuk, we learn. Chacham teach us, Ba'bar Prokim parshanut 4 times throughout the year. HaMoicher behem l'chaveroi. You sell an animal, tzarich ladei, you have to inform him. If in fact he sold a mother animal on that same day. So if you sell him the offspring, tell him about the mother, and vice versa. What are the 4 days? Like we said before, we had the Erev Yom Tov Achron Shel Sukkos, Erev Yom Tov Rishon Shel Pesach, Erev of Shavuos, Erev Rosh Hashanah, according to Rabbi Yitzchak Levi, Erev Yom Kippur as well. You know, by the way, talking about Erev Yom Kippur, Tesis brings over here that he brings it's a medrash, Bereshis Rabbah, a famous story about the. Sure, many of you know it. The famous story about the tailor, right? That he went all out to buy fish. It was the minhag to eat fish on Erev Yom Kippur. He went out to the marketplace. There was only 1 fish left, and it was a bidding war between him and the butler of the governor, and they were going at it, bidding back and forth until they got to the point that the Jewish tailor outbid the governor's agent. And the Yid took the fish home, and he opened it up and he found a diamond. That was his schar for being Meiser Nefesh, for going all out, for the kavod of Yom Tov. And then he was summoned by the governor. The governor's like, what happened? How come there's no fish? So he says, because there was one left, and the Jew took it. He was all mad. He called in the Jew. He says, what's going on? He says, what do you mean? It's not for my personal celebration. It's a special day, a day of celebration, given to us by Hashem. And he explained to him the significance of the day, and he calmed down. He let him go. So that was the story of Erev Yom Kippur. Interestingly, I just saw some sefer. He says, what could be the message? Why was it a tailor? It could have been a shoemaker, a fireman. Why was it? He says the message here is Erev Yom Kippur is a time for making peace. Erase any discord. Like the tailor, sew it all up, put it back together, bring back shalom in the family, in the community, right? In honor of Yom Kippur, Mechilas Avonos, come back together, come back to Hashem, all as one. Make peace with each other, in the family, in the community, in Klal Yisrael, which triggers Rachmanas and peace between Hashem and our nation. We're on to a new parak. Parak Kisi Adam, which discusses a brand new mitzvah to cover the blood of a shechted. It only applies to a chaya that had shechita or a bird, not a behemoth. So you must cover the fresh blood with earth. As we're going to see in the Gemara, it has to be covered on both sides, like sandwich between earth on top and earth on bottom. Kisi Adam, this mitzvah is noig, applies whether it's in Eretz Yisrael, Ba'aretz, or B'chutz La'aretz, outside, Fnei Habayis, when the Beis HaMikdash was standing, or otherwise, but only b'chulin, as opposed to Oisev Es B'noi, which applies to chulin and kachim. Here it's only by regular animals, private animals, but not by karbanis. How do you have this by karbanis? So Rashi says you only have birds. You can't have chaya. Chaya is not valid for a karb, but you have the chatas ha'oif, oilas ha'oif. It doesn't apply there. V'noig b'chaya v'oif. It applies to chaya and oif. B'mezumen. Zumen means whether it was prepared, reserved, meaning your privately owned animal in your barn, or was a surprise find in the forest. It applies there as well. V'noeg b'kvi, kai is that unknown species, undefined, chaya, maybe not chaya. You have to do kisi adam safed because we're not sure. But we can't do shchita on Yom Tov because since it's not certain that it requires kisi adam, who's to say you can handle move around the dirt unnecessarily? So you don't do shchita on Yom Tov. But if he proceeded, ein mechasen as dam, you can't do kisi adam because the offer is possibly muktzah. What's wrong with doing kisi adam for karbanis? Why is that exempt? Is it based on Reb Zera's halacha, who tells us describes to us the process of kisi adam, but the dam has to be sandwiched in between the earth, that you can't do that on the mizbeach, right? By the birds, you can't put dirt on the mizbeach. When we do shchita, you have to have afar, earth beneath the blood, so the blood settles on it, and earth on top. Shanamar, as the pasuk says, you cover it in earth, sandwiched. It doesn't say afar, you just cover it with earth. It doesn't say afar, inside. And we learn we do shchita, you have to place dirt on bottom and on top. By the chatas bird in the base of you can't do it, it's not applicable. Why? How are you going to put soil on the mizbeach? Doesn't belong there. How should he proceed? Should he put some soil, a layer of soil on the mizbeach, have the blood settle on it, and then put blood on top, and nullify it to the mizbeach, let it stay there as part of the mizbeach? Come on, you can't do that because you're increasing the size, dimensions of the mizbeach. You can't do that. It's exact. The pasuk says, "Hakol b'chsav, b'yad Hashem." Olai, his skill. Right? The Melech is telling Shlomo HaMelech, his son, look, this is all given with exactness by Hashem. So you can't increase the size. Well, okay, lo levatl, just leave the dirt there without being mevatlet, without rendering it as part of the mizbeach. Kav chatzitza, that presents another set of concerns. It's chatzitza, because now the blood, which is supposed to go directly on the mizbeach, is being held back from the mizbeach. There's a barrier. There's earth there, which is not part of the mizbeach. So it's sort of stuck. You can't do it this way or that way. Okay, fine. So you can't put dirt underneath the blood. Granted, but at least if you can't do it on bottom, at least do it on top. I mean, there are two parts to the mitzvah. It's true. The lamat you can't place earth on bottom on the mizbeach, but lamala you can place earth on top. Have the blood settle directly on the mizbeach and put earth on top of the blood. That's not an issue of adding to the mizbeach. That's not an issue of chatzitza. Do it on top. We learned Tanya. Haven't we learned that if you can't do both layers, you can at least do one? For instance, shachat chaya. Suppose he did shchita on a chaya in this location, then he shechted the bein right over there, and the blood settled on the pool of chaya blood beneath it. There's no point in doing kisei because the blood of the chaya that's embedded beneath the behemoth's blood is covered in both directions. But behemoth v'chakach chaya. Let's say he did shchita on the behemoth first, and then he did the shchita on the chaya, which lands on the blood of the behemoth. Chayav l'chases. So although he hasn't really fulfilled it, the din of kisei beneath, because it's sitting on the other blood, it's not sitting on the earth, but at least let him cover the top. So you see, even when you can just do one, you do one without the others here as well. But the blood of the carbon, just put earth on top of the blood, which is situated on the mizbeach. The answer is like this. When can you get away with a half of the process? That's only when, the circumstance allows for the full process. There's the ability to do both sides. Okay, if you fail to do one, just do the other. So in your typical shchita, you can do earth on bottom and on top. So even if you fail to do one side, do the other side. But over here by the carbon, you're preempted from doing the bottom layer. It's impossible. There's no ability to do that. Because, as we said, there's chatzitza issues, there's increasing the mizbeach issues. And therefore, since you don't have the ability, the potential to do it properly, you're exempt completely. It's excluded from the mitzvah. Where do we find a similar concept? By menachos. There's a mitzvah to mix the flour with the oil. Okay, let's say he doesn't mix it. Is the mincha still valid? Yeah. But let's say the reason why you can't mix it is because it's impossible to mix it. It's too much flour. It's way overboard. In that case, the mincha is not valid. Rabbi Zera, as taught by Rabbi Zera. Dam Rabbi Zera. Kol haroi lebila. If you delivered a mincha to the Beis HaMikdash with proper proportions, which is suitable for mixing, in that case, even if you fail to mix it, ein bila, the mixing requirement is not ma'akeves, but doesn't invalidate the minchas. Meaning, even if he practically didn't do it, since it had the ability to be done at the proper material, then it's okay. But if the bila is not feasible, 100 pounds of flour, you can't mix it with you. So in that case, bila, the bila requirement, the fact that you need to do bila ma'akeves will now invalidate the mincha. It's like it's the wrong material. So basically, there's no ability, there's no potential, it's excluded. Likewise, the blood of the carbon. There is no ability. Do a proper double-sided kisui, so it's fully exempt. Ask the Gemara, what's the issue? Listen to this. Do the bird on the mizbeach, let the blood trickle on the mizbeach, fine, you'll fulfill that requirement, and then scrape it off. And put it on the floor, put it on the offer, and then have offer on both sides. So you cover all bases. The ligrari, scrape it off the lichsai, and then cover it. Don't we have a Mishnah with a similar type of case? Dam hanitas, v'shalas sakin. When one does a regular shchita on a regular animal, so the blood which sprays out, or the blood that you find on the knife, chayav l'chasla, you have to cover it. How? How are you going to cover it? Alma de garer machasla, you scrape it off the knife. And then you cover it blood. Alma de garer machasla, as you see, you can scrape off and then cover. Here is all by the chata soif in the Beis Hamikdash, nigroi v'nachasi, like scrape it off the mizbeach and cover it. Says the Gemara, mizbeach. You're right if it's a carbon. We thought we were talking about regular carbonates. You're right. There's a way to do it. The Mishnah speaking, it's a bird which belongs to the building fund. It's one of the possessions of the Beis Hamikdash. So you have no business doing shchita on that. It's meant to be sold, and it's money used to fix the to do repairs, do maintenance. So you have no business shechting. If you do shchita, it's asur b'hano, you can't benefit from it. Rashi brings that Kisei Adam only applies to a shchita which produces edible material, which this doesn't. In which case, it's exempt from Kisei Adam. One more line, we turn to the next page. You're right, in its current state, it's not permissible, it's not mutar ba'achila. Just redeem it. Here's $5, take the bird, and take the blood and cover it. Once you redeem it, you can eat it. You can't. But once the animal dies, once the bird dies, you can't redeem it. There's a din hamada, you have to have it stand up and evaluate it, which you can't do after it dies. So it's impossible to redeem it, so it's asr. If it's asr, there's no point of Kisei Adam. Okay, we'll continue with Hashem tomorrow. In the meantime, what do we have? We have the Arba Prakim. 4 times a year, you have to actually keep on top of the animals, make sure that there's no clash between mother and daughter. Between Oisei and Espenoi, we spoke about when they were sold on separate days, there's no issue unless they're intended for the same celebration, like the wedding. During these 4 prakim, you can actually force the butcher to sell. We explained how this happens, how the buyer is considered like a partial owner, either there was a zika idei acher, or because the moyes are kainais in this case. The term oisei v'esbenoi esishchatu b'yem echad refers to a standard day of vayera vayveker like Yumas Bereshis. And we went on to Kisei Adam, which only applies to CHULLIN, to Chaya, and to Eif. All the best to you, and Hatzlacha.